when you get abscessed, and I muscled my drugs, and because I couldn't get veins because I didn't have veins anymore, is that when you get an abscess, you know, usually they come back in the same spots. So on my arms and here, they had to, because I kept getting them in the same places, so they had to cut all the muscle out. So my arms and both of their muscles all gone. And the doctors told me, because they gave you really strong antibiotic, and basically they told me that you can't keep coming in like this because, you know, your body can get immune to this medication. And it was, I didn't forget the name, but it was the strongest antibiotic in the world. But I've been very fortunate to have love from my family and a sense of God, you know, besides everything that was going around. And I believe what happened to me, because there was no way out. There was no, it was only down, only farther. And, you know, I mean, of course, I had many run-ins with the law. I don't even know how many times I was arrested. And that can only get worse. I guess for some reason it woke me up that I was gonna die. I don't know if I would have even made it in another year where I was. And so what happened is that I started to think about, like I said, about my family, about my kids. And I think I started praying, but I didn't know I was praying. And still, like I said, everything was going on every day. And it took some time. But I really didn't want to do heroin anymore. And it was like, if I was going to die, okay, fine. You know, because I've made so many bad choices. But please let me find my family and my kids.
I don't know, it's a lot better now. I think she's doing really good. And I think it's a lot better. She's not doing drugs, that's good. That's pretty much the best thing. That makes the biggest difference out of all. So as long as she's not doing that, I feel like whatever she does, I don't care, because she's doing really good. And so that makes me happy, and that makes her happy.
I was letting go for me. Nobody told me anything, no court, no people, no family, nothing for me, that I really didn't want to do it anymore. But of course I had no resources. I didn't know how it was going to happen. I just kept praying, and I didn't know I was praying, but I was, and I just kept saying, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but please show me a way, or, you know, help me get out of this.
She said she was just asking God all the time, every day, for help. And she said there was a street minister, and he came over to her and he asked her if he could pray for her. And she said she bursted into tears, and she said, I just want to find my mother and get back with my children. I don't know where they are. I can't find them. And he prayed for her.
I was downtown Seattle, and there's all this traffic and stuff, and she lived in California at the time, and she was in a rental car on a business trip, and she's sitting at the intersection, and I'm across the street not knowing she's in the car, and somebody yells my name, Tasha, Tasha, and she heard someone calling my name, and she gets out of the car.
I jumped out of the car, and I just yelled her name, you know, and she just burst into tears, and it was like a movie. We ran to each other on the street and, you know, hugged and cried, and it was nothing short than God's intervention, because that's where it was at for both of us.
Everybody on the street was looking, and everyone was like, wow. And it was, you know, really that was a miracle. And we really nobody knew how to deal with anything, what was going to happen, and how everything was going to fit into place. But it just worked out. And the reason it worked out is because I really wanted it to work out. And I was ready. And I was so beyond, it's tired is not the word of it, because that life isn't a life. I mean, it's an existence, a pure survival. I still was using, but I really wasn't going out there. I got another little abscess after I seen my mom. But things were different this time, and they just kept moving along, and then we heard about Suboxone, and Suboxone completely just changed my life. And I was lucky enough to go to a doctor myself that, both my parents helped financially for me to go to that. And it's completely saved my life because I was really willing, and that the medication stopped whatever it is that goes on in my brain that I used not thinking.
She's just tough. She's just a little trooper. I mean, she's like 5'4", 120 pounds or whatever. Just to think that she lived on the streets for that many years. It just under bridges and who knows where.
In the winter and the cold and the snow.
And everything, it just, to imagine that, it just, it just is, it's just something, it's impressive, And she's always believed in me, Tasha has. I've never felt insecure around her. I've never felt like shy about any kind of goal I had or anything I wanted to do. She was always, and still is always, 100% supportive, And I really, she's a big part of the reason, that I want to be successful is for her, just to prove her right, so she can say, I told you, that's my brother.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, she means a lot to me.
Over a year and a half now, and this year and a half, it's, I mean, pretty much every day. Of course, I have my ups and downs, but I'm happy and I'm thankful and I'm grateful. And I have a true calmness, you know, because I really know and feel, and people around me know this, that I've truly been healed from my addiction. And you know, I'm 39 years old. I'm not some little young cat, and it's not easy. I mean, it is, but it isn't. You know, I mean, not being in society for, you know, even before I was gone and went on the street, I really didn't have much credit or much education. Never was married, and so, you know, it's a little, you know, it does have its challenges, and you know, and I'm trying to learn how to live again, and also I was really immature when I first came back, and my maturity is maturing like at fast pace, you know, everything's in a fast pace.
To just be a closer family, and to just be together instead of worrying about where one another is, or about whether or not that person's demons are gonna just end up taking them and you don't get to see them anymore. Just be a closer family.
You know, they're not babies anymore. They do their own things. They have, you know, a life, and they don't, you know, don't need to come home or, you know, get their diapers changed anymore. It's so it does make you pretty sad all the times that I said, oh, I'll be right back, I'm just going to the store, you know, for a couple of days, and it was a couple of weeks, then it was a couple of months, and then it was a couple of years. Now all these years later I come back, and so it's all a transition for all of us, and every single day I have to, you know, keep my positive, you know, and keep working on my relationships, and especially with my kids, you know, and that I can always look at myself in the mirror and feel okay, because it's not, you know, that's kind of a slap in the face. But nothing is more, even no matter on the worst days with Harley, if I don't eat that good or this or that, no, nothing is as bad as where I was before. And every day I have to be strong and read my Bible, read my daily word, remember where it came from, and be grateful and proud for every single day I have. And that I'm not in charge, that God's in charge. Because when I was in charge, you know, you've heard it, I don't know, millions of times in the program or whatever, but there is a lot of truth to that, you know, I can't be in charge, God has to be in charge. And that I'm just happy that I had Christmas and Thanksgiving, you know, and that, you know, we're making plans to go camping, and you know, I have a dog now, and I never had a dog that's been really helpful for me, you know, and then being with my kids every day, taking my son to school, making dinner, doing things with my daughter. You know, they're 16 and 19, they're not babies. I was gone for their whole life practically. And, you know, I'm just really grateful that I've been healed enough, because before I couldn't even really look at him in the face. I felt so guilty, and it's still hard, but I don't worry about the same stuff I worried about, and I'm just happy from where we are now and our future.
Then there was the other guy that when she was in one of her states of mind when she was Tina, and she couldn't remember she was Tasha, and 8 months went by, and then one day she goes by Tyra's restaurant down in Kent and goes, oh my God, my niece, my cousin works in there. And so she goes in and asks for Tyra, and Tyra's like, oh my God, Tasha, where have you been? She goes, I don't know. And so anyway, that's how she finds us that time. And then that guy brings her out to our place. Well, he's a full-blown gangster. He's got all this money. He's got all his money buried in his backyard because he's a freaking, well, according to Tasha, he was a hitman for the mafia. And so he comes out with his pit bull and his coveralls on. And I'm just like, and she's like, I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't know he worked for the mafia. I'm like, these are just some of the little sprinkly stories in between.
I'm a person sitting here today that God does heal, and that I'm a living proof of that. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. And you know, I've heard these things for many years, all the time, and they have so much meaning to me now. I'm living that. And like I said, I'm so very grateful, you know, because there's a lot of unlucky ones. There's many people, many friends that have died, and I'm sure there's many other thousands that end up in morgues every year, and it's really a tragedy. And so I'm so lucky that I'm sitting here today and I'm talking and I'm telling you all this, because a lot of people weren't as lucky as I am. Well, I wanted to be more self-sufficient, you know, and have my own place, my own car. I mean, I'm sure a lot of it's in your head and whatnot, but, you know, having a few felonies, no education, no job experience, and then the economy, there's so many people applying for jobs, and there's people that have way more stuff than me, so it's a little frustrating. It is. It definitely is frustrating. Different, you know, ideas and whatnot to maybe have my own little business, or because it's really hard. You know, you don't have very much chance already if you don't have education, which I've learned the hard way. But you really don't when you took yourself out of society for many years. You didn't even know who I was at all for years.
The thing that I would like for my daughter is for her to fulfill the vision that God has given her. And He gave her a vision to have a house of hope, a place where people can come who really want to be well, and who in fact are well as far as being healed spiritually, or however they got healed, and are looking for and need a place, not looking for and need a place that they can go of comfort, where the Comforter comes. So that's one of the things that that we're working on right now, and I think it's an extremely important thing, and it's something it's really in her heart to do, because when you're around her as an addict, you're around somebody who's been healed, not somebody who's trying to get healed.
And if I didn't have my family, I would have nothing. You know, I mean, they're really wonderful. I mean, I don't even know how to explain. I mean, it's one thing about your family, and not everyone is so lucky, I'm sure. You know, but for whatever happens, and you know that you know that they're in your corner. That someone in their family has an addiction problem, and then how it affects everyone in the whole family or friends, and that there's so many people out there, and then there's not very much. It's very limited to where you could go. Like if I didn't have my family, and I mean, I didn't have somebody that I could talk to. I'm so lucky that I could at least talk to people. That would be so hard, because it would just eat at you and eat at you and eat at you all the time in your head, because a lot of it is it's psychological, you know, psychological, emotional, and I'm sure everything's all different for everybody else, but a lot of the psychological stuff, it would be really hard if you can talk. If somebody was in the position I was in 5 years ago, what would I say to them? The number one thing is that that there's hope, and to believe that there's hope, because I would be sitting here today, living proof, and nobody would have thought in a million years that I would be here today. It's close, very close to my heart, that if just one person out there could hear my story and my family story, or a family member in somebody's family, just even just one person to have hope or to get better.